The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I rise today on behalf of the 12th Congressional District in the state of Michigan to say to Norfolk Southern, don't dump your toxic waste in our state. Last Friday, we learned that shipments of solid liquid toxic waste from East Palestine train derailment in Ohio were being transported to Michigan for disposal. Norfolk Southern chose to dispose truckloads of hazardous materials at multiple sites, including one operated by U.S. Ecology, one of our region's most negligent and notorious corporate polluter. These companies treat our communities, poisoning our communities as the cost of doing business, and we're done with it. I'm so proud of our residents who spoke up that helped halt their further shipments into our state. I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart, every single one of them, for speaking the truth and demanding better from all of our officials from the state and the federal EPA. We will never give permission for corporate polluters to continue sacrificing the health and well-being of our communities and our families. Our environmental regulators, state and federal, must aggressively protect all of us from this threat and hold these polluters accountable. Madam Speaker, I rise today to say DTE Energy, an investor-owned utility monopoly in our district, charges some of the highest rates in our nation while providing some of the most unreliable service and performs hundreds of thousands of utility shutoffs per year. Right now, many of my residents are in a 7th day of no power, no gas, heat, or electricity. This past week, we have yet a nightmare of more than close to 1 million DTE customers, as well as 200,000 consumer energy customers in our state who have endured days on end without power and heat after completely a foreseeable winter storm. You ask why? Well, because DTE doesn't invest in reliability. It invests in profits and pay for shareholders, executives. The company made $1.1 billion in profits last year alone. Investor-owned utilities like DTE will always put profits over the people that we serve in this chamber. During the worst of the pandemic in 2020, Madam Speaker, DTE shut off to customers more than 80,000 times, despite being subsidized by our own federal government with the tune of $268 million in CARES Act funding. The reason? They paid out $807 million to shareholders instead of keeping the power on for our residents who are struggling through the pandemic. Since 2015, DTE has received over $775 million in rate hikes, the second highest rate of increase in our nation. And they just announced their intention to seek another massive rate hike. DTE has failed to invest in the infrastructure upgrades necessary to prevent outages, instead choosing to maximize profits for its shareholders and spending millions on campaign contributions to avoid real accountability. I am sick and tired of wealthy corporate executives lining their pockets while our communities suffer and continue to be exploited. That's why last year I introduced a resolution recognizing the human rights to utilities with Representatives Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. Access to utilities is not a privilege, y'all. It's a fundamental human right. People depend on it for medical, for safety, again, in their own homes. In the richest country on earth, every single family should have access to electricity, heat, and water. We need public power for all.